All right, we will call this February 18th, 2025 County Commission meeting order. Stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America.
Okay.
He's on mute.
Next time.
Backup IT. Backup IT guy. Okay. Cable guy. All right, first order, approval of the minutes. Everybody had time to approve the minutes. I entertain a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed, yeah. Approval of the order of agenda. Anybody, need anything moved, taken out?
What would you write?
Commissioner Ross, were you going to add something?
No, we're gonna add that, the consent agenda. Yes, I'm sorry. Going to add the planning and zoning meeting that we had at 3 o'clock, that approval to the consent agenda. Second.
All right, we have a first and a second for the order of agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of a consent agenda. All right, now employee status change overtime January financial report. We have a first, okay, we have a second. All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And citizens comments. We do have a gentleman here that would like to make some comments. If you could come up to the podium and then could state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, hello, my name is Nick Zaccardi. Nice to see you all today. Thank you for allowing me to address so early in a meeting so I can go see my kids. I actually really do appreciate that. That's incredibly kind.
Please spell your last
ZACCARDI.
name. Thank you.
And I'm both a resident of Grand Forks County and a business owner here. First, let me just say I largely believe that the duties, responsibilities of this commission is most likely a thankless job. And so I do want to say thank you for your efforts on behalf of the community, on behalf of the county, myself, my family. I do appreciate that you spend Tuesdays here serving our community. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. I do want to speak to you on 2 interconnected topics. One of them is process and one of them is trust. My understanding is that in the course of the February 4th meeting this year, this body took and considered action to allow a Class 3 casino to enter the Grand Forks County, which would naturally create a number of changes to our community. And I recognize that the bill in the Senate at a state level has since failed, and that casino will not be entering hotel, casino, and et cetera, will not be entering the county at this time. I want to say I appreciate the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians desire and endeavoring to increase their economic position by enriching our community. That's a great thing. I think that's wonderful. I don't have any problem with that. To attract dollars from out of state or out of the community into the community, thankful for that. I'm glad that they're participating in regional efforts to strengthen our economy. Fantastic. I think that's great. I could not be more opposed, however, to a Class 3 casino entering our community. And I would request how this intersects with process and trust. I would request that for the sake of us citizenry that care about such a frankly volatile and complex conversation, that we would be given the benefit of being able to be here and address you when such an important topic is going to be present on the agenda. I did look over the agenda again, and it was not there to my knowledge. I was watching for it, in fact, to see if it was going to happen. So I would request that as a matter of trust from us as a citizenry to you, that we would be afforded the privilege of being able to show up and participate in such an important conversation, and that not be added as an agenda item so quickly. I would say that there are a number of items that I can see being, I don't think this needs to be a blanket removal of all additions to an agenda. There are plenty of things that should, in emergency situations, be added to an agenda. Hey, the building that's a major roof issue and we need to address it rapidly. The sheriff comes in and says we need to address something rapidly. No problems with that. But something as significant as this, I would request that you commissioners not just add something to agenda without an opportunity for us to come and give comments on it. At this juncture, my request would be that you do add some sort of guidelines. I don't know how that would work within the commission's efforts, if there is a way to have guidelines around what you can add to an agenda and what you cannot. But that would be my request to you, if you could publish something like that so that we as citizens might know. And if something exists, maybe I might be able to get access to that at some point. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Like to respond? I will be instructing Mr. Ford to come up with a written policy to address that very issue at the end of this meeting. So that will be on the agenda for the next county commission meeting, a discussion of a policy on adding items to the agenda.
Well, I could not have asked for more rapid action.
Right, and I believe, Mr. Ford, if you wanted to address this, you sent an email saying I did not have time to read it this afternoon, but you did address this same issue, if I am correct.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, there's been more of an understanding, so there isn't an official policy in this subject, but it's been for quite a while where it's expected of the commission that items aren't added at the last minute because employees, department heads, members of the public were coming to have something added and commissioners weren't given the proper time to read ahead, see the materials, etc. But it's been more of an expectation more than an actual official policy. But yes, sir, we'll get to work on one.
I'll respond, because you intimated that we voted to allow a casino. First of all, this isn't even in our realm. What we voted to do was to approve the city's intent with a non-binding agreement to basically gather information. We didn't approve to allow anything because they don't need our approval. You're probably standing in front of the wrong governing body, right? We're just basically saying, city, do what you want to do. We're cool with it. And so that's a little odd. We have the new business thing on here for things that do come up that are time sensitive. And this turned out to be because it got thrown onto a committee assignment that was literally the day after our county commission meeting. So when the city reached out, we wouldn't have had time to put it in the newspaper, but it was certainly done at an open meeting. So I'm not completely clear on what the request is. Is it to remove the new business portion from our agenda so that there is no flexibility? And so that if things come up that are time sensitive, that we no longer have that? Or what is your request exactly?
Hey, Commissioner Rosted, may I? While I might have used incorrect language, I don't exactly see a distinction between the county's, this commission's support of the city and supporting the casino's presence. I don't see a distinction there.
The distinction is that it's a non-binding, it's an information gathering agreement, right? So the city isn't attaching themselves to them either. They're saying, what we're going to do is move forward and find out if there's a deal to be had. This is the information gathering portion. The way you're verbalizing it to me is basically saying, well, we're just stamping an agreement and saying, yeah, we're on board with it, that which isn't the case at all.
Yeah, Commissioner Rosted, I again appreciate that. One, thank you for interacting. That is, I was not anticipating that, so thank you for that. The second thing that I would say is a letter of intent for a Class 3 casino that has, to my knowledge, track these things probably as closely as you do, has been rejected several times. The county representing support or even a continued information gathering is something that I would have liked to be able to speak against at a meeting. And I think the urgency of that meeting or the committee hearing is not grounds for adding something to an agenda as volatile as this particular subject. So I think that's what I'm addressing, is to say there should be some sort of guidelines for the new business. I don't think you should remove the new business item. I think that would stall progress on critical items. That to me would not be preferable as a citizen. However, I do think there needs to be some semblance of guidelines around what is allowed to be attached to new business and what is not.
I would say volatile is fairly subjective. Would you agree?
In this
To me-
situation, no,
To me,
sir.
gathering information on a project is not volatile at all. Now, should we have said, if we had some financial stake or even say over it whatsoever, if we had said, yeah, do this immediately, to me, that is volatile, but to me, gathering information is simply doing our job.
Appreciate the comment, Commissioner.
Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
we'll have someone follow up with.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It'll be on the agenda next week, next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Is there any other citizen comments? Sheriff's office.
Chair Hagan, members of the commission, thank you for having me here today. I come before you regarding the civil fees that are charged in the sheriff's office. And this was a request to be looked at after meeting with Commissioner Bierke in our office. So I'll just give a quick explanation as to how fees are charged within the sheriff's office. Currently, all fees are charged based off of a North Dakota Century Code, Chapter 11-1507. And that establishes the fees that a sheriff may charge for certain services, civil process. For example, you forget to pay your medical bills. We have a collections company come to us and say, hey, we want you to serve these. There's standard fees that are charged, or you want us to kick somebody out of their house, or what you have. So all those fees are established. There's one fee that is not set to my recollection and my research. Ms. Walmstead may have found something different, but there is an administrative fee that our sheriff's office currently charges to individuals. That fee was increased a few years ago after we went to the legislature. Retired Corporal Ron Nord went and worked on a bill with the state 6 years ago to increase the fees, and they were fairly minimal as to what we were able to increase, approved by the legislature. So our administrative fee is currently $5. The request was to see if we could increase that fee at any amount. Again, research by our civil corporal, Chris Hutton in the office. I have spoken to private servers that are in our area, and the average fee is $70 to $75. There's one private service company that does them for around $50, and another company that failed to want to disclose what they charge. Our current fee total for an in-town service is about $50. So we're about $20 to $25 less than what the average private server is at in our community. I did do some quick research of counties in our state that have their fees published on the World Wide Web. Cass County and Mercer County are two that do charge an administrative fee of $5. Counties such as Stark, Burley, Ward, McKenzie, Williams, Sargent, and Morton either charge $0 for administrative fees or $1. I did not see any fees, any counties that charge a administrative fee higher than $5. That being said, I'm not saying that we cannot charge more, but I wanted to bring it to the commission's attention as this is for approval by the county commission. And again, I will allow, I encourage Ms. Walmstead if she has found anything in her research to chime in as well. But per the request of Commissioner Bierke, we would look at potentially entertaining that administrative fee be increased by $20 to a total of $25. I'll stand for any questions.
How many of those do you do a year on average?
In 2023, we served over 6,000 papers.
of the kind. The court, you can't do administrative fees, is that correct?
Correct, yep, and that was about a third of them, I believe. So, and I'm not aware of, I don't know if these are in those numbers or not, but we did figure out the hard math. I believe the ones that we serve on behalf of the courts are not included in the 6,000 number.
Okay, well, you can't open up a letter for $5. And whoever at their office gets the letter, does what they do, the deputy gets it, does what he does, makes or does not make contact, does what he does, and then it goes back to the person to be final disposition, correct?
So a portion of the fee that is covered by the state is the service, that is $30. That is an established amount that's set by the state. Again, that is for us to physically serve somebody a paper. For each individual we serve, we are allowed to charge $30 per person. That is set. If we can't find them, we're allowed to charge $20. If we need to make copies, we're allowed to charge $2 per page. So some of those fees are set. The fees or the items that you're referencing that don't have any fees tied to it that we try to cover under our administrative fee. They include office supplies, staples, ink, right? Paper if we're making copies for our in-house ones, because we don't want to lose them. Research time, our support staff and our deputies look for phone numbers, addresses, places of employment, trying to locate these individuals, talking to family members, former friends, documenting the receipt. Our ladies they stamp them every time they get them. They enter them into a master list. They track the service. Some of those things are not charged on the fees that are set by the state. So we don't consider those administrative fees.
And then what do you have to do at the end to dispose of it?
Correct.
Whatever you do there.
Yeah.
So all that's being done for $5. That's not covering your costs. So, I guess if anybody has any questions, if not, I'm ready with a motion.
I just asked Ms. Walmstead if I could,
Oh, okay.
if she found anything different than what.
Just the same statute you and I discussed and you referenced here today.
Okay, I'll move to raise the fee to $25 per time.
All right, we have a first and a second to raise the fees from $5, correct, to $25.
If I may, Chair, if this motion were to pass, I would just request that we be allowed to set a date to enact it approximately 60 days down the road. Like what is today? April 1st.
Is that good?
That should be enough.
Okay,
So
go ahead,
where does the money go?
Goes to Ms. Nelson.
general fund.
Okay,
I'd like to amend my motion to the starting date of 1/8/2025.
Second.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just to get a full picture of this. What are your, like, the downsides of raising the prices? I think there.
Others, I mean, honestly, the only downside is gonna be for our support staff. With the individuals that we regularly serve papers for, are going to gripe maybe a little bit. But in most cases, you run a business, what do? They pass it on to whoever is being impacted. So they'll get passed on to their clients or the people that are kicking out of their apartments or whatever it may be. So there's no downside. If anything, maybe employment or opportunities would pick up for the private sector. Serving over 6,000 something papers a year, I guess I wouldn't really argue with. If they wanna
You
have
wouldn't mind
private
losing
service. Is what it is.
Very good. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Cindy, sorry.
I do have a question. Sheriff Schneider, I know that you probably don't know this off the top of your head, but do you have any concerns with individuals who may be low income with families and may not even be able to afford, whether it be healthcare, groceries, prescriptions, other things? Is this going to tend to be a barrier to our lower income citizens?
Commissioner Beach, those are typically the people that are getting served papers, not the ones requesting papers to be served. If we do have any of those individuals potentially coming in to request us to serve papers. It's for I would say a disorderly conduct restraining order or potentially a protection order. Protection orders, we typically don't charge fees on. And disorderly conduct restraining orders can potentially be on a case-by-case basis. If somebody came in with all the issues that you referenced, we would likely try and waive those fees. Something that we don't typically like to do because if you're in the court system, you see how many, we call them a DCRO, restraining order, are dismissed prior to their even initial court date. So we don't want to be starting to give those out for free and deal with way more services and a lack of follow through.
Thank you very much for that answer.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion raising the fees from $5 to $25 starting on April 1st. Favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you. If I may, a couple things that were not on the agenda. If I can mention just a couple things. So last week, I did have a meeting with the law enforcement portfolio holders of the city of Northwood and the city of Larimore. Some of you may be aware the city of Northwood's been without a police chief since August, I believe. And they've been exploring their options. Their community spoke very loudly, stating that they want them to pursue their own police department. And they have tried that effort for several months and to no avail. So at this last meeting that we had with Larimore, they're potentially looking at a co-op, which, to not get into it too far, would be the city of Larimore and the city of Northwood would have a contract with the county of Grand Forks, and they would share X number of deputies, which is, I propose that there would be 3 total. So there'd be 3 deputies between the 2 cities at an expense to those communities for police services.
We already have 2 there.
We currently have 2 contracted that the city of Larimore pays for. We'd be looking at adding 1 more. And so that, in that meeting, the mayor did make it very clear that whether or not the city of Larimore decides to co-op, that they will be pursuing the sheriff's office for police services. So in the near future, the next couple months, more work from the Swampstead. Can't wait to talk to you about this, but we do have some contracts that we're going to base it off of already, but I'll be in touch with Ms. Swampstead on that. And this Thursday evening, there's a special meeting in Larimore where they will decide what they want to do. So it's kind of in the city of Larimore's hands right now as far as where it goes. They have their police services. It'd be a cost savings to them. If they obviously co-op, they'd be going from 2 deputies to 1.5, 80 hours of service a week to 60 hours of service a week, if you want to look at it that way. So they'd be saving a little bit of money. And when you look at a mock schedule that's made up, you throw another body in the schedule and they're actually gaining coverage throughout the week. Just because you'll have somebody filling in the 4 days off stretch that are currently abandoned or something like that. So, and I won't answer any questions on that because it is up in the air and we'll wait and see what happens. But other than that, I have nothing further. Thank you.
County engineer. Before we get started, we forgot to recognize that you got the Engineer of the Year Award.
Oh. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Sheriff Schneider. Sheriff Schneider, we do not have helmets available for our sheriffs and sheriff's deputies. Is that correct?
Commissioner Peach, we actually do.
We do.
Some grant money through some local partners and we secured helmets.
Wonderful, because I was going to make a suggestion that maybe the $25 that was being collected could potentially go into a fund to be able to provide helmets, because with domestic violence, we have lost law enforcement officers both in Fargo and in Grand Forks. And I think it's very important that we have that available as an accessory for our law enforcement officers. So thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, 4 items for consideration today. The first one is consideration for a speed limit change on County Road 81 as requested by the board last meeting. Did some analysis and maybe there's a little bit of missing data here too, but meaning I don't have crash data if that wanted to be considered. I just want to be clear on that. That is kept by the state DOT and I didn't get a chance to get that data yet if that we want to consider that. But the segment in question would be 81 from Thompson to Grand Forks, or I call it County Road 81A, which is that half a mile segment between the interstate and 81. And then 62nd Avenue, which is the south end limit of the city of Grand Forks. The request was to consider it to be changed from 55 mile an hour to 65 mile an hour. In my opinion, geometrically, the road would be okay to increase the speed limit with some minor modifications. The modifications being changes in signage, which none of that is a major deal. I would just ask if a change is requested, maybe we could wait till spring till the frost is out, so a couple months away, to make things a lot easier to move signs and whatnot. The biggest difference in this road segment is we have some significantly wide shoulders and flat inslopes, which are the biggest challenges we have with increasing speed on our other road segments. This one, and it was a US highway at one point, they just built it better, in my opinion. Just some specifics about the intersection itself, or the project itself, is it's 6.5 mile segment. With 2 horizontal curves in it. We don't have any sight distance issues. There's no hills, so we don't have that issue. But the intersection down at 81A, I would recommend that would stay at 55. And there's some reasons for that. One, we have some issues, and I hear complaints about near misses, and I don't have the crash data, but I know there's some crash history there, and keeping the speed down would be nice. The turn lane, so there's some turn lanes in this segment, and one. It's interesting how that worked out. So if the turn lane was in the state of the southbound turn lane, it was in the state of Minnesota, it'd be okay, but North Dakota standards are different. I didn't know that till I did this research. And that wouldn't stop it from happening elsewhere. But if the road were to be built new, the turn lane would be longer to allow more of a longer distance to deaccelerate at the intersection. But it's not a game changer. We would need to move some signs around. Move the I-29 route marker and Highway 15 route marker to change sign, that kind of stuff. Now, the one thing with speed, and I'll just say this right up front, is all the spacing between signs is dictated by speed. The faster you go, the greater the distance there is between signs. So if we do change speed limits, we should be moving signs. We should be adjusting those spacing. And a great example of that would be, say, at the 2 horizontal curves we have, we should move the signs like 20 feet if we want to go by the book. I forget the exact number, but they should be moved. The other thing with the curves is they technically rate out at 64 miles an hour, which doesn't seem like a big deal, and it's really not. But I think we can cover ourselves well that way by putting a 60 mile an hour speed limit advisory placard under them would be an acceptable way. Another interesting thing about these curves, and I didn't know that until I dug into it as well too, is they're an 8% super, meaning the bank of the road is 8%, which that's okay in Florida, but in North Dakota, we would never build a road like that new nowadays. 6% is the steepest we would go by our manuals, and that's due to ice. And a great example of that is if you remember, 2 Christmases ago, we got that bad ice storm. It was like 3 years old. It was 2. Yeah. Our salt trucks couldn't stay on the road. So they salted in reverse, going around the curves. So that way the grit was on the road because you're sliding off. That's the issue with too steep of banks. Now, in this case, it's not a deal breaker, but that was just an interesting tidbit of that. You get to the intersection of County 6, I'll just change some signs around. And again, those turn lanes do not, actually those only need 45 mile an hour design speed. So I don't know why those were built like that back when the dam or the flood protection project was done. But and then Once you get to the intersection of 62nd Avenue, yeah, we would just need to move some signs around. And then, that intersection, if you drive through it today, if you can go northbound through the intersection at 55 till you hit the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit north of the intersection. But if you're southbound, it's 40 through the intersection until you get to our 55 sign, then you can go 55. So that's not good. You know, that's confusing the people, it's confusing the law enforcement. So I would advise that we just make the whole intersection 40 and slow them down before we get to the intersection. And then also included in your packet is there's just some standard drawings of things we would consider for other segments of the road, like examples of how sign spacing is done, how intersections are graded out, turn lanes, clear zone sloping, and we can talk about that if you would like, but I just, it's some informational stuff for you. I did take the liberty of calling some other counties what they did, and it's all over the board what some counties have done. Trail County, Walsh County, they haven't even considered, their roads are all still 55. Cass County took a little bit better approach, in my opinion, to it. They have some roads 65, some are 55. They held their public input meetings. They did some traffic analysis, basically traffic counts and collected speeds, what people were driving. And they took geometric data of the roads. So the roads that were, say, a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1, that's the slope of the road. So a 4-to-1 would be 4 feet out, 1 feet down. So 5-to-1 would be even flatter, 3-to-1 is steep. So there are roads that are 4-to-1 or flatter could be eligible if they had guardrail around bridges that were okay, or no bridges with guardrail safety issues, that kind of stuff were okay. In the end, they had 3 or 4 segments, 3 or 4 roads that they upped to. They have some that are proposed to go to 65, but what they're going to do to, or why they're waiting is because they're going to do a sliver widening project on them. So they're going to come back at some point and add a little shoulder and slope the roads out better. Once they do that, then they'll go to 65 as their plan. So Ward County, number of years ago, most of the roads, they just, when the law changed, they up and changed them to 65. With a few exceptions, the ones that were 3-to-1 or the really steep ones, they've held those off and have either done sliver widening projects or will be doing sliver widening projects in the future. And then once that's done, they'll go to 65. And I asked him, like, well, did you move your signs around and all that? Well, no. But that one kind of surprised me. They took a little bit more of a aggressive approach, in my opinion. Nelson County, just to the west of us, they have 2 road segments, which coincidentally match up with ours. That's 4 west of Larimore and 1, which would be like west of Inkster, Johnstown, Midway School, west of that. Those are 65. And then they only have, I didn't know this, they only have like 4 or 5 paved roads in the county. So they're 4 and 1 are 65 with, they're long segments of roads that go across the whole county or the bulk of the county. And then they have some other shorter segments that say like 2 miles in the Talna kind of deal. Those are still 55. But I know Nelson County, at least at the county line, those are steep. And I don't know if they're a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1, but they're steep. And I don't think there was much of a study done on that, is my understanding. I feel that changing speed limits is a little bit tricky. You know, there's always a mixed view on that kind of stuff. I know, and Sheriff Schneider can probably speak to it too, where speeding is always a challenge. There's always some outliers and people driving fast. And generally speaking, people want other people to drive slow in front of their house, but when I'm driving, I want to be able to drive fast everywhere I go. So if we change it, there's going to be some people upset. If we leave it, there's some people upset. On 81, I could maybe go both ways. I lean a little bit more toward just leaning it as it is. On all the other roads, we can visit more, and also on the agenda, I lean more strongly toward leaving them alone. But if the board would entertain, there is a member of the public that lives on County Road 81 in this segment. Mr. Chuck Nelson is with us here today that lives there. He's I'll say a large farmer that lives on that segment. If be okay if you address the board and gave some thoughts on the topic? Sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick, Madam Chairman. Thank you, commissioners. Our farm is located the intersection of 81 and 15, 3/4 of a mile north, and about a third of a mile off the highway to the west. In other words, if there's a confusion on that, just south of the S curve, about a half mile south, and then just go west to our farmyard. Pertaining subject is Highway 81. As you can see my age, I've experienced 81 many times in my lifetime. I would like to say from south end of Grand Forks to the intersection of 81 or 15, that road has got nice shoulders. The road has held up quite well. I believe it was redone in '97. And we actually experienced the worst miles right in front of us, to be honest with you, between Grand Forks and Gardner. If you take 81 all the way, that is the roughest mile in the whole concept there. I do have some concerns on increase in the speed, and here's why. Us in agriculture, we have machinery that goes on this road all the time. We'll use it 4 to 6 times a day minimum. You get in the heat of the battle, we're on that road 20, 30 times a day. Now on harvest, feed harvest, soybean, corn, we're probably on that road 50 times a day. And what is the problem? A lot of trucks, but farm equipment as well. But we have problems with distracted driving all around the country. I've seen people drive right off the road on Columbia South there to get on the curb. So I'll go right off the road to the ditch, get up and go up the road, up the ditch and go right on the road, keep going. Seen it myself. But anyway, regards to this here, we got a shoulder there, that's good, but we have too many people driving. The traffic count, I'm sure Nick has taken traffic counts, but in the morning, like from 6:45 to 9 o'clock, is unbelievable amount of traffic. When you take 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock at night, it's unbelievable. We get people from Columbia South, we get people from South End of Grand Forks, whatever. When they get to the intersection of 15 and 81, some do go to Thompson, but there's a line share that do go south a mile, and then they take what I refer to as KT, number 9, you go to Crookston or wherever. Okay, we frequent that road a lot too. But we've had so many close calls coming into our farmyard that I can't count them on both hands. And this is with or without pilot cars, pilot pickups, flashing lights, blinking lights on making our left turn, especially when you got northbound. We're going northbound and we're on the south, mile south at the intersection coming to our farm. We have blinkers, you name it. We've had people, we come and people will pass us. We've had 5, 8 feet away from our front end of the tractor from getting hit. We've hit the brakes. I've hit the brakes a couple times myself. I had one mishap with one guy trying to pass when I was pulling a header home with lights and everything. He was on his 2 wheels when he saw what was happening. He pulled and it was just like that, and then he flopped down on his 4. He was very lucky. I was very lucky as well. But if you increase the speed, there's more issues to deal with. I will be upfront. I have donated my share of money to the Grand Forks County Sheriff Department and the North Dakota Highway Patrol in the past too. But I think it's a serious issue if you do increase the speed, and I got neighbors that use this road a lot too as well. I understand where somebody is that support this. I understand what you do. We try not to use with our equipment any more than we have to. We'll make 4 to 6 miles out of the way sometimes to go so we don't have to deal with the traffic and that. And it's scary sometimes, and we just feel that the increased speed would not be advantageous to anyone. Now, I'd like to refer to this. This is the intersection 1581 going south to the county line. that road does not have much for shoulders. When you get to August, September, October, you got not only hundreds of loads going, you got thousands of loads, 24/7, especially October till beet harvest is done. We're one of the many. And we're on it probably then 50 to 100 times a day. And your odds are working against you big time. As you move forward without an accident, you know it's just a matter of time something's going to be happening. And when we finish harvest, I'm so grateful that everyone has been able to come home in one piece and everything. I say to everybody every fall when we're done, I'm thankful everybody got home in one piece and that. But I would appreciate if you would just keep it the same, and we just hope things don't happen drastically to any of us. But you know, if you'd like to see the traffic, there's times we gotta wait 3 to 5 minutes in our end of our driveway before we can get on the highway. That's how crazy it is. In the mornings, 6 o'clock, you can beat the rush, but if you go at 6:45, no way. And at night, I'll wait 5 minutes before I get out on the highway. You know, time to time, but you know, you gotta do what's the most safe too. But consider that as well. Agriculture is king in North Dakota. It's in the valley, both sides of the river. And, you know, we can only drive so fast, 20, 25 miles an hour. So thank you for your time.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Nadine.
I would concur with Mr. Nelson, and thank you very much for coming forward to share your experience. Agriculture is the #1 economy in our economy in Grand Forks County, and I've driven many times following my husband with implements, and if we move it to 55, from 55 to 65, or even have a slow down section, people go fast already. Even on the interstate, it's 75 on our interstate. They go 80, 85, and they go 55 or 60, 65 already on these roads. And I have seen near accidents. I travel that road very often when I go to Crookston, and I have seen almost accidents happen when the sun is coming up and the sun is setting. I don't care if the implements are green, red, people do not watch for them. They do text, they do whatever on their phones when they should be driving. And those curves, I have slidden of those curves because of the curvature of the bends. And I just would be very concerned about putting our public at risk in improving or increasing that speed limit. And I would be very concerned about public safety and also the safety. Farmers are busy and they have a lot going on. My husband is in agriculture. He's not going to watch to see what the angle of the sun is, if it's setting or it's coming up when he has to go out to a field to do work. And I don't expect that of any other egg producer as well. I just would concur with Mr. Nelson. I think it's a safety factor, and I do not think that we should increase that speed, because at 65, they'll go 70 or 75. And those curves cannot take it, or they cannot handle it in their vehicles. I know people are in a hurry to get from point A to point B, but that doesn't mean that we need to put public safety at risk. Thank you.
One other thing to add is Mr. Nelson brought up, you know, turning into his driveway, and over the years, we've had numerous conversations about that. And to help alleviate that problem, we took when we go around a curve, there's double yellows, no passing. We extended those double yellows further south past his driveway to extend the no passing zone. So try to get people not to pass when he's trying to turn in his driveway. I don't know if that's helped much. Chuck,
I think it's helped some, but when people get used to things, then they get distracted and they just go about their own habits too. Now, we've had them, the double line in that, we're going northbound. We have them pass and they aren't following the lines, obviously, they should be staying back, but everybody is in a hurry up mode, you know, too. They gotta get to work, gotta get home or whatever. We've just had too many close calls. I'm not kidding you. It's just a matter of time.
I just want to be, I did invite Mr. Nelson here today, just because of our history. The last 11 years of working with him and numerous conversations we had, I knew he'd be concerned about this topic, so. Any questions?
Yeah, first of all, on the other roads, as I mentioned before, that's down the road. If you're texting and playing with your phone at 55, just because you went to 65 doesn't mean any difference. You're still playing with your phone. So it's irrelevant. Because that's not a speeding issue. That's a playing with your phone issue. Because you can play with your phone at 25, pull up to a red light in Grand Forks, and just look at the lines, look where all the heads are at. Down looking at your phone. That's not speeding. That's breaking another law. Just so it can be clear, I was trying to follow the exact location. So is his entrance onto that road in the 55? The way I understood it, he's not in the 65, or did I because I didn't have the map. I was trying to follow where it was at.
Oh, yes, he would be in the proposed 65.
Okay.
So the west curve,
Okay.
the west curve, he'd be, would be just south of 8th Avenue.
It's half mile south.
Well, it's not even that far.
795 is our address.
Yeah,
Okay. So.
yes, that far.
Okay. All right, so, but just in general, we had all these issues, and I'm not telling the sheriff what to do, then I guess we need to park a bunch of people out there and go ticket mania. If that's the issue. The speed limit right now is 55 and you're driving 65. Write them up. I can just tell you my experiences. I drive 55 and I got people passing me all the time and no one's having wrecks. Not on this road, a different road. Straight flat road, I'm driving 55. The only thing that hasn't passed me so far is a bicycle. Everything else has. So if they're not driving the speed limit, that's a separate issue. And so I don't know if there's any other discussion, but I just, and oh, by the way, in case anyone's wondering, from Manville North, it's 65.
Yep.
And on that road is the green trucks out on the beats 24/7, 9 months of the year, and the trucks hauling the coal. Side note, I'm not saying you guys aren't doing your jobs, so don't, you know where I'm at. You got that. But I'm just saying is the opposite end of the county, it's 65. Literally 15 feet outside of Manville, you're up to 65 going north. And there's tons of truck traffic on that road all the time. The trans systems and the people hauling the coal and stuff for them. So I just want to throw that out there. So, you know, I didn't mean to insult you. So.
That's not, you're not why I came up.
Okay.
Chair Hagan, members of the commission, I just wanted to, just talk a little bit about what Nick's been talking about. When you look at it or the geometrically appropriate roads, County 81 is the most appropriate road. But unfortunately, with traffic density and the population and the type of people that are driving that, it makes it one of the most least opportunistic roads to increase the speed on. It's the best shape, but it's the worst for the people driving it because unfortunately they're not county residents. You look at the rest of the county outside of Demers, which is County Road 4, 32, which is 32nd. Those roads are traveled a ton by people that are going to the Air Force Base, and that section of County Road 5, Airport Road. So you're talking like 5 miles Airport Road. Those 3 areas of County Road and County 81 are probably the most dense for traffic density at the hours that Mr. Nelson addressed and throughout the day, which makes them the most high risk to increase the speeds. I would rather see the speeds out on your County 33, which goes from Manville to Gilby, go to 60 or 65. But the geometrics of the road don't really necessarily allow for that. Those are the roads that we see people traveling faster on, and there's nobody out there. Our traffic counts, we have a traffic counter too, and we put it out on these roads. We'll get traffic counts on Merrifield Road, west of the interstate. Our count will be 17 people from 11 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. 17 cars 4 of them are probably deputies. We just don't have the pictures to prove it, right? So those roads would be, you know, less travel, right? Less risk for collision or distracted driving mishaps. It'd be more appropriate, but unfortunately, the way the roads are designed, the slope of the ditches, et cetera, might not allow for that. So I have the same concerns on County 81 as Mr. Nelson. That harvest season, boy, I don't drive one of his trucks, but I drive a B truck and man, people just don't really pay attention and there's just way too much risk that outweigh the reward in there. You got County 7 or the KT road that goes to Crookston. That's a mile stretch off of Highway 15 and Interstate, just south, where you got cars speeding up and slowing down or trucks speeding up and slowing down. And it's, I mean, right now at 55, there's issues there. And then you go just north, just past Mr. Nelson's, which is on the picture. You can see, for those of you that didn't notice on the screen, his farm, not to point it out here, but it's right next to the yellow stripe, which is Interstate. But his driveway actually comes off of the red, okay, which is 81. So just north of there, yep, that's it. So just north of there is the first curve, which intersects with County Road 17, also known to some of you as the Columbia Road Extension. Boy, is there a lot of vehicles that get off the road there. And good thing we got a wide shoulder, even though it's gravel right there, or we would probably have a lot more rear end collisions. Like Mr. Nelson said, people are just getting off that interstate, just got done burning between 75 and 82 miles an hour on average. And now they're getting on a 55-mile-an-hour road and their foot just forgot what the speed limit was. And we already have enough problems in that section the way it is. So that curve is, it does have a steep angle on it. So now, in my opinion, if you're gonna look at increasing the speed, you're looking at the north curve. We're gonna increase the speed for 3.5 miles. What are we saving, Nick? You did the math on it. I mean, we're saving a couple seconds at 10 miles an hour.
Oh, you're saving 6.5 miles at 55 miles an hour, 7 minutes, 5 seconds. 65 miles an hour, it's 6 minutes. So 1 minute, 5 seconds.
And you take the 2 miles out of there that I don't like, now you're looking at 40 seconds.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I don't disagree. Some of the roads, it seems like we should be able to drive faster on there, the more desolate ones, in my opinion. You know, you go north and west, right? There's hardly anything out there, or even further west on the south side. A lot less traffic, but I don't know if you want to pay the pixel fields, so we can.
Madam Chair. I took care of a lot of accidents out there in 81 South in my 40 years with the sheriff's office, so I can't see raising the speed limit either to 65. I've seen a lot of crashes, and a lot of them had to do with speed, not observing what's going on, and I just don't think that's the right road to do it. So I guess at this point, I would make a motion to leave the speed limit at 55 miles an hour on 81 South.
I would second that motion, Madam Chair.
Do we need a motion to leave it as is? Or is that just like a- do we need a motion to leave it as is? We just leave it as this. Do we need a motion to do that?
Well, I'll let it go. I'm just telling you, down the road, slope this, slope that. You can slope all you want, there's only 3 people out there. I don't care about the slope, so I'm gonna be looking at some of the more rural roads. Cause I drive 55. Like I said, the only thing that's not passing me is a bicycle. So on this one, you got it, I'll leave it alone.
And I see it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing 55, they passed me.
Yeah. So,
But
don't wanna start World War
when
III
you're out
over.
there straight
6
to go
miles.
off the highway,
Yeah.
I got a problem. So,
All right, I'll let it go, move on.
Thank you, Nick, for doing that.
If you want more information or specific questions, we can do more or crash.
The horse has been beat to death.
Okay.
We got it.
Okay. The next item for consider.
Sorry, do you want us to vote on the motion or do you want to start the motion?
well, I just felt that, I think there was interest in raising it, and I'm
Okay.
saying we need to leave it alone.
Yeah, we don't, lobby if you want to, but I'm not gonna make a motion to raise it.
Because we keep it on the floor, we can vote on it.
Okay, let's vote on it.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of keeping the speed limit at 55 five, you say aye.
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 I,
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Okay.
Spring load.
Spring load restrictions. Yeah, this is a little bit of a complicated one too. So back in September, I came before the board and asked that we relook at our spring load restriction. It was antiquated, out of date. And we've spent a number of months trying to analytically come up with what they could be. And the second page of the, maybe back up. Ms. Nelson. Oh, is it not? There you go. Yeah, a little bit more. Couple more. Back up. The second page is a giant spreadsheet where we try to plug data in to come up with what should the spring ton limit be for each segment of road. And we couldn't find a pattern. And the biggest problem we had one minor issue is we didn't have enough traffic collection data, particularly trucks. We don't care about cars in the spring. They're not a weight issue. It's loaded trucks that are the problem. Okay, we didn't have enough truck count everywhere. We had some, the DOT has some, but not enough. And two, the biggest problem we had is we didn't have the subgrade modulus, which is basically the strength of the existing soil. And it can vary greatly. For instance, what we use an average of 5,000 is an assumption, but I think on County 5 and 11, if you remember, we did some work with Northdale. That issue's coming before the board. It was 9,000. Down we paved Eagle Avenue, it was like 3,500 or 4,000. And that's really, that's a big component of it. So we couldn't come up with something to come to you like a map, like this segment could be this or that segment that. So I guess if we're gonna make a change, you need to make a change fast because I gotta get signs ordered because spring's coming. So for the board to consider, I have a few options here. One, we just leave it as it is and we just redo what we did the last 50 years. Two, we leave it in place and then go collect more data. And we could mimic what Cass County does is they spent, well, it's about $150,000 to $200,000. They go around, they do a massive collection of traffic counts, which could be used for this and the speed limit concern, okay? That would be nice to know what people are actually driving and have a good collection of that. So that'd be kind of a twofold benefit there for consideration. Or three, we take our number 2 limits, my recommendation, and make it the 7-ton, take all the class A's, make it 8-ton, monitor the system and revisit it later. And we could do a combination of 2 and 3, you know, like if we wanted to change it and then collect some data as well too, but like to get the board's thoughts on that. And the reason for the 7-ton, to change number 2 limits to 7-ton, I can elaborate on that, which may be a little confusing. The 7-ton limit is very similar to our current number 2 limit. The biggest change is the gross weight can go up, which is the old system. There wasn't semis and a bunch of pup trailers running around. Nowadays, truck technology is better. There's longer trailers, so we can still keep our axle weights very similar, but they can haul more weights, be more efficient because they have bridge length and more axles on the ground. And the 8-ton and class 8 are very similar as well too. Just the gross weight goes up. You'll see the single axle weight goes down technically, but I really don't see that being a problem going from 18,000 to 16,000 pounds. That essentially just be like if you got a heavy haul truck, you got the heavy axle super single on the front, which is pretty rare. Yeah, it's not gonna, you don't see too many of those trucks in the 8 community anyway. So that would be my recommendation, is at a minimum, make a change, and we can, if you want to spend some money to collect that subgrade modulus and traffic data, we can talk about that too. But
We'll be going with option 3. I like option 3.
second.
I got a question. What's the difference? You got 2 things, spring load restriction policy, this one and this one. So what,
Oh, the other
so,
one,
because I'm trying to figure out what are we doing here?
oh, yeah, the other one was a copy of September 17th meeting when I first brought it to the board.
Okay,
And at that meeting, I came to the board and said, hey, our current policy is 50 years old.
so that's already, this has already been done then.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Okay, so then on this one, you just went on, so that's done. We've joined this century, right? So that's all done. So then it's just a what debate on number 3 then. Okay, I'm good then.
Right, we have a motion on the floor to option 3. One person second. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you. And next item for consideration is some project list. And this is particularly with our prairie dog funds. So here's my proposed list of prairie dog funds, which we should be getting here in March. And I'd like to get a jump on it if the board would agree. So my first proposal is to do 47 miles of chip seal. That would cover all the roads that we've overlaid in the last 3 years. 1.6 million. The next one, and Mr. Nelson's gonna like this one, I believe. I'd like to do a mill and overlay on 81 from Thompson to Grand Forks. Okay, okay.
Great.
Sorry.
I think he stuck around for that.
Yeah, okay, so he was gonna leave. 1.3 million. And then the remainder of the money, I'd like to propose to replace bridges with box culverts, one in Michigan, one in Union, one on the Blooming Rye line, and one in Grace. And I'll say, if we do this, if we do these structures anyway, and we have a list of 10 bridges our crews are gonna rehab this year. And if we can get them all done, that's a tall list, but we're gonna shoot for it. We will have accomplished a milestone. So a few years ago, we had 84 bridges on the bad list. We're down to 61 currently, but with this, plus what we have in the queue, we will have all the bridges that have a ton limit of 20 or less on an actively used township or county road, meaning when I say active, I mean like the ones we plow snow in the winter, bus route, mail routes, daily commuters. Active roads will all be taken care of, or a plan in place, at least by the end of 2027. Some of them in the queue with DOT will be done in 26 or 27. So to me, that's a big, huge liability taken care of. And we'll still have some bridges that have that low rating, but they're on minimum maintenance road, goat trails, that kind of stuff, prairie trails, but that still need attention. But at least we'll have all the roads we plow snow on taken care of if we do take care of this and our crews get everything done. We hope to get done this year.
And with approval of Mr. West's construction list.
Second.
First and a second approval is for the prairie dog funds. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously.
Thank you. The last item for consideration is the construction engineering contract for the new bridge going on County Road 2 by Orvilla. This is with KLJ. So this project has been before the board numerous times with approving resolutions of swinging to do the project, RFP selection for construction engineering, etc. This would be the contract for KLJ to do the construction engineering. I have reviewed it. It is okay in my opinion. Ms. Wanstead has reviewed it. It's okay in her opinion. Correct? Right. Yeah. And if okay with the board, it would ask for Madam Chair and auditor's signature by a few places.
Move approval of the contract with the auditor and the chair's signature.
Madam Chair, I would second that motion.
All right, I'm pretty sure that was a second in another language.
Is this all state money? The whole contract?
It's 80-20.
820.
So we are properly budgeted, sir. 80% federal, 20% local.
That's good. So I thought-
Yes.
Where she was up like that.
Yeah.
We'll send her an audio clip. Anyway, all right. motion to approve with the chair's signature. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed unanimously.
Thank you. That is all I have for today.
Thanks, Nick. All right. Mr. Burkholder, I think you're up next.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I just wanted to quickly address something with you, and that is in regards to this expansion project. In our meeting on February 3rd, it was anticipated that the Area D, which is the adult side of the expansion project, could potentially be completed somewhere in the first part of March, we'll call it. And if that's completed, then by the time they do all the punch list and everything, I was anticipating an occupancy of probably on the 1st of April. In our meeting today, I've learned that they still have to put all the fire alarms attached with the juvenile, the yak has to be tied in with ours, it's all one. So they won't give us a certificate of occupancy of B until we get C or B and A also ready. So that helps a little bit in what my concern was. And my concern was that in the current budget, we don't have staff to occupy or to staff that facility until July 1st. And my concern is that if we don't staff it until July 1st, we have a certificate of occupancy available to the county on May 1st. And that you contract 60 beds a day, 60, and we'll just call it $100, 60 times 100 times 30 is every month, $180,000 every month that it would sit idle. And that was, I've had so many different discussions about finances and so forth, that just kind of hit me, and I thought, I got to come to you guys and talk to you about it to make sure that you're seeing that too, because the ramp up time for the staff to get ready and get trained, the FFE, all that stuff, all takes time. And I'm afraid if we don't start the process soon, we'll have a certificate of occupancy ready for that expansion area and not the staff. That'll cost us money. That's what I just came to you today for, is to ensure that you're aware of that. So that if we could escalate the hiring of the staff, so we can get the training and so forth completed, so that we don't sit with an empty building ready to occupy and no staff to operate. I know we're in discussions and negotiations with the various entities. And I've had a lot of different discussions as to where that might end up. But I just don't want to be behind the 8 ball in this, and that if we wait and continue to not advertise, not interview, not hire, not train, we'll miss an opportunity for many thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Cindy.
I have a question of Mr. Burkholder. Mr. Burkholder, you said what the income would be based on those beds. What would the expense be comparatively each month for that certificate of occupancy to take place earlier with staff?
Commissioner Peach, members of the commission, I've done the math, and it takes about 22 per diems every day that I need to make up the money to pay for the staff. Our current per diems today, I had 23 per diems in today, 29 and a half average for February.
So the per diems that you're alluding to, is that a part of that? I mean, is there an expense beyond per diems? Is there a dollar amount? Like, okay, we wait for a certificate of occupancy, it's ready in May, we don't do it until July. Is there a cost per day? I understand per diems, but dollar amount? Is there a dollar amount that we're talking about based on every month when you're bringing in that income, what's going out as an expense?
Commissioner Peach, members of the commission, I've done the math on the utilities and everything. If we have more people in there, we're gonna, more utilities, more water. We still need to heat or put AC in the building regardless if we have people there. But is a cost to feed, there's a cost for the linens, laundry and so forth. And that is going to be a small cost of, I don't know the exact number, but it's relatively small in relation to the dollars we're talking.
So with the certificate of occupancy happening earlier, what would, in your estimation, when would you like to hire staff to get them trained in?
Commissioner Peach, members of the commission, I think in an ideal world, we'd have the certificate of occupancy on one day and we'd be opening up the doors the next day and bringing people in and earning money. If we have the certificate of occupancy and we're not doing that, every day that we don't do that is a lost opportunity. I kind of relate it like if you have a hotel and you have 50 rooms that aren't being used on a given night, you can't charge twice as much the next night or the third night for missing that opportunity. I think it's key that we tie in when that certificate of occupancy is with trained staff.
Yeah, I understand that. And maybe I didn't clearly ask the question. When would, in your foresight, when would we be looking at needing to hire those staff to get them ready when the certificate of occupancy is approved?
Commissioner Peach, members of the commission, that's why I'm here before you today. If we were to advertise now for 2 weeks, that would put us to about the 10th of March. It's going to take at least 10 days to interview staff. That puts us to the 20th of March. If we make an offer on the 24th, 4 days later, the individuals give a 2-week notice to their employer. The soonest they'd be starting already is April 15th. It takes about 90 days to get someone through their FTO training.
Mm-hmm.
So I would only have them through orientation by April 22nd if we did this right today. And that's assuming that we can hire all the staff in one shot. We've never had 8 officers hired through one advertisement. That is a concern of mine that we won't get 8 of them right away.
Madam, thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Cindy.
Based on what we just gave, on what you just said, that they would not be qualified to work to July 15th. Is that correct? If we hired it now, if we start the process now.
Commissioner Bierke, we're going to fast track it as much as we can, but we need to get them through the FTO training because we're talking putting them in a pod, a housing unit that they could be the only one there. They have to be well trained. We're going to do our best to put them in a 2-person's housing unit, but that can't be guaranteed, especially in the evening and so forth when we split people or have fewer people on.
So can you do it faster than that? I'm trying to doing the calendar here. So if you did it in 75 days, that'd be the 1st of July, based on the scenario you just went through.
Commissioner Bierke, members of the commission, I'm going to do it as fast as we physically can. If we can get them through the training even faster than 75, that would be my objective.
My second question is, I don't know all the HR rules here yet. When they're hired, are they on a probationary status for a point of time?
Yes.
And how long is that?
6 months.
And they can be terminated for any reason?
Correct.
Okay, because the point I want to bring is somehow some deal doesn't come through and we hire them, then we can terminate them without any issues because they're on probation.
So we're budgeted to start paying for this
Yeah.
stuff in July.
Our budget for the 071 to start hiring 10.
Yeah, but the issue is that my point is though, if somehow there's an issue, even if we hired them, we don't have to keep them.
But we don't have the money budgeted to hire them until July. Based on the budget that was approved last.
Okay, but he is right. If we do rent the beds out,
Yeah.
and we can get them going,
There will be
then
money.
we will have a budget. And if we don't have a budget, we're gonna let them all go. If we don't have anybody to put in there. That's why I wanna know about the probation thing. So, because under probation, that's the case, then we can terminate them because we don't have the jobs for them. There is no, we anticipated renting for whatever reason. I don't think it's gonna happen, but we don't know. So we wanna protect ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're protected by the probationary status. So, go ahead. Yes.
Commissioner Brier, few members of the commission, in light of this discussion, just to make you aware, I've had discussions with, I know the state's attorney and Mr. Ford are negotiating with the state. I've also had discussions with U.S. Marshals, ICE, and Walsh County. And I will tell you, there's great interest in renting beds from Grand Forks County. It's difficult for
As
all
soon as
those
it-
agencies.
As soon as it opens.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so once we conclude the state, we'll know if we gotta go to Plan B, which is the other three. Because if the state, well, we probably should look what the other people are offering too now. Because let's make a deal. What's the space, what's that guy?
Commissioner Brier, that's exactly why I've done
Okay,
that.
so we should be looking into this because we can't just look at the price though, who's higher, because if the state will guarantee us a price for 8 years, and they'll only guarantee us a price for 2 years, sometimes you could take a lower price. That's why McDonald's like to sell more burgers at a cheaper price, because you can't always get the better price. So we gotta make sure we're doing a whole bunch of negotiation here all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, okay,
I'll share the podium with you.
Absolutely. All yours.
So Chair Hagan and Commissioner Bierke, your question about probationary employees, all of Grand Forks County employees are at will. Previously, they were not all at will, and so probationary employees were considered at will. That was done away with in 2023. They're all at will. So a probationary employee at this point is a moot point because we no longer have a grievance policy. They cannot come up and grieve. We just follow progressive discipline just to make sure that we're not discriminating.
but you do have to pay unemployment. And so if you have a probationary status,
So we pay unemployment anyway.
you have to pay
Does not
unemployment.
matter.
So the
Yes.
probation is not really probation.
Correct.
We should be looking at something like that to where
Unemployment does
we have,
not,
we have a policy where we can terminate people within a certain time frame at no penalty to us.
with unemployment.
Yeah.
We have no control over unemployment in the state of North Dakota in the method in which we have. And it has to be considered gross misconduct for them to not get their unemployment.
So you can say we have at will, we kind of have at will. So I'll put that on my list for down the road to look at how we can fix that. I want to look at the second thing, are you on this, which it goes back to, I guess, when we get to executive session about
Yes.
the triple,
Yes.
about playing against each other, which winner, we gotta be the chicken dinner on that one. On the second one, on your, different kinds of pay stuff, this, are you recommending that? Also, this, you had two things in there, I can't remember, on-call shift notice, whatever.
Commissioner Bierke, members of the commission, I think it's imperative that you consider the reinstatement of the on-call short notice pay, because what I attempted to do is in the budget that you approved effective July 1st, it has 10 correctional officers. I have spent hundreds of hours looking at this and how can we save money, how can we make money and so forth with this expansion. And one of the things that has been we come up with was that rather than having 10 officers, we do 8 and use overtime, call and pay, short-term notice pay. We believe we can cover the facility fine at a lesser cost. So I'm removing 2 officers from what I would expect to hire July 1st, and instead reinstate those policies and do it at a lesser cost to the county.
Okay, so you're looking for A motion to begin the process for hiring aid immediately. And B, to reinstate, give me the two names again.
Policy at 14 and 15.
F 14 and 15. Okay, now, in a second, I'll make a motion, but I'm only gonna authorize that till May of next year, because we should be reviewing that on a yearly basis. Because that's how stuff gets left out.
We did.
Commissioner Hagan, members of the commission, we did have a sunset on it, and we sunset it in
Yeah,
December, I think, of 23.
it's non-existent right now, so we should
Correct.
just set another sunset on it. My point is, if we don't do this, it's how policies get forgotten about.
Well, that's what I brought up the first time it came
Yeah.
up, is to have it reviewed at the end of the year.
Yeah, so we would, because they're hired in mid-year, if we go till next year, then we can see where we're at. Okay, so I was waiting for Mr. Rusted to come back.
He's already.
Well, I don't want to make a motion, you know,
I had it
here.
in my pants, I figured.
Okay, well, I guess there might be other questions before, but I'm ready to make motions and the rest of everybody else.
So, you know, there was one other thing that Mr. Burkholder told me today at our construction meeting was he can adjust those beds in D to house more prisoners, contract more beds. So anyway, I'll let you talk about it.
Commissioner Ross, members of the commission, yes, that is true. We were over there about 10 days ago and looked at the layout of which the architect put the beds in. I asked for our construction engineers to tell me how many square feet are in each of these housing units. And one of the housing units, which they had 12 beds slated for, was either the fourth or the fifth largest of 8. So they had 12 beds in that one, and yet the second largest only had 8 beds. The second largest was also, with the layout and so forth, much more accommodating to 12 beds rather than 8. So while we can do a simple move the 4 from here to there, what we also found out is that this third and fourth, which were also larger than the fourth one, which the architect had said could have 12, we can make the beds fit in there equally or better than what the architect originally planned. I think once you walk through the facility, it's a lot easier to see than someone putting it on paper, and that's what we were able to determine. I believe that my math was right. I think we added from 72 to 82 beds. Now, if we can do that, the cost to the county to do that is going to be, I think, 3 more bunk beds and 3 tables. You have to have a seat for every one of the people that are in the housing unit. They're 4 4-chair tables. So the ones that have 8, we've added 2 more bunks and 1 table. And I think with the moving of, I think it was 3 and 3.
Yeah.
Very cost effective to get another 10 beds if I can get it.
Well,
I have not run that by the Department of Corrections yet, but I can't see how they could argue that it couldn't work. It's all by unencumbered square footage, and if you're putting them in a larger area that they've already looked at, it would make sense.
Well, get on it. Put it on the agenda, bring us back the dollar number. Yeah. So I'm ready to make a motion to begin the process of hiring 8 additional corrections officers immediately.
Second,
We have a first and a second to start hiring 8 additional officers. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passed. Mr. Rusted.
Okay, well, I gotta make the second motion. I move approval of the policies of F14 and F15 to be reviewed at the first county commission meeting in May of 2026.
second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimously.
If possible, you get that number for the next agenda meeting, the next meeting.
Depends.
The bid,
Cost.
make sure it's clear and then whatever that would cost.
I'll also confer with the Department of Corrections to make sure that there's no objections in that as well. Thank you.
With our discussions of the state, with our discussions with the state, I thought it'd be necessary to have an executive session to review our negotiations that Ms. Lomstead and Mr. Ford have been doing for us. Anybody have any objections to that? This Thursday morning, does anybody,
I'm good Thursday morning.
Thursday morning? Thursday morning?
Thursday morning, what time?
Bright and early, just kidding.
5 a.m. No.
5:30.
Oh, I'm up.
You're old, you're up early.
You're old.
You already sleep so long, it's time to get up.
Madam Chair, to be selfish, on that Thursday morning, I have an appointment with my back surgeon.
You have a particular time that you?
It's at 8, so if we're after 9.
I was thinking, I have 10 o'clock was my 10 to noon was my
Sleep in.
proposed eating at sleep in time, that was breakfast.
Okay, so.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Cindy.
myself and Commissioner Bierke already have a meeting on Friday to talk about a contract with our administrator. Would it be possible to do it around that timeframe on Friday or not?
I do not have any availability at this Friday. I'm so sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So Thursday, the 20th at 10 o'clock. Is that good with everybody?
Here,
Yep.
Thursday, 20th, 10 o'clock.
That is all that I got to add. All right. Now the home rule charter amendment. Mr. Bierke, were you taking that over? or-
Yeah, on this one, after reviewing the election costs, the Alaris is in the middle of a remodel in June, which is gonna cause issues. And then the unknown status of what can happen to the home rule authority with what the state may or may not do. It'd just be better to scrap it. We'll try again next year.
Okay.
It's just not gonna work out this year. I don't wanna waste money if the state start printing ballots and the state stops us, so we'll try again in 2026.
Very good. All right, audio visual improvements to the county conference rooms.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the commission. So just so you know, we didn't receive the proposal from High Plains Networking until this morning, which is why it wasn't in your packets. Or excuse me, High Point Network, that's their name, but I did lay them down on your desks. So at the direction of the board, myself and Evelyn, we had some meetings with this company, and they're out of Fargo, with HB Stone and Light kind of changing their business format. There aren't a lot of options in the region, so Evelyn was good enough to connect us with these folks. And what you have before you will walk through it and can answer questions. But they're a good company to work with, and we're able to get this turned around in pretty tight turnaround fashion. And with everything online and what the commission is wanting to do with live streaming meetings and recording, it's staff's opinion that we have to make some upgrades to these conference rooms. So as you know, if you take this wall down, this is one massive conference room, this whole side of the building, and it can be partitioned off into 3 conference rooms. Mr. Lombardi has already started the process with putting up new monitors in each of the partitioned off. We'll call them A, B, and C. So this is A. So we have a head start there. What this proposal that's in front of you tonight does is it would upgrade the existing AV audiovisual systems, networks, hardware in what we call the Pioneer Conference Room, and then B and C, which we call the Memorial Conference Room. It would make significant improvements to our audio, our speakers, the input and the output, and then of course some of the video. As you can see, Ms. Nelson projects the packet up there, and we've heard complaints for many years that people in the audience can't read that either. So what this proposal does is it would allow a master control to have one system. And it would be a master system so that if you needed to open this entire conference room and have a big meeting, which we've had in the past, you can control everything, or you can partition off and have 3 separate conference rooms with 3 separate meetings happening, and you have control over each different room. The master control load that would allow for that partitioning off would be in this room. So in other words, you could have 1 room or 3 rooms going at the same time. For this room, which would be the primary benefactor of these upgrades if the commission chooses so. As for microphones, you'd have push to talk. Much like if you've been at a city council meeting here in Grand Forks, they have something similar, I believe. But it would replace the microphone system in this room with push to talk, including the podium. And then the other 2, so the Memorial Commons room, would also be audio input and output devices in the ceiling. So you're just speaking like this and it's picking up your voices and it's projecting through a speaker system. So overhead input and output technology. With this proposal, the whole thing is at $173,275.21. We do have the ability to phase it if you want to. So maybe you just concentrate on the Pioneer room or the commission room, and then another budget year you take B, and then another budget year you take C. It's the commission's decision, obviously. One question that we asked the company this morning was, is it the cost divided into thirds? 50% of the total 173,000 is this room. This is the room that we use the most, public engagement, public meetings, to get what we want for people online that are streaming these meetings to hear people speaking clearly. It's a lot of improvement. So this is 50% of that total cost. It comes with a 2-year manufacturing warranty. We're working with the company HPN on some servicing warranties as well. They're going to put something together and send it to us. Their hourly rate was far more less than the next competitor. And there's an upfront license fee of $900, but it's one and done. It's not our annual subscription licensing fee. And if the commission, just hypothetically, were to approve this tonight, we'd be looking at about 4 weeks before HPN could come in here and start making improvements. So that's what the proposal consists of. I'm happy to answer questions or for general discussion.
Yes, sir.
The bid, is the bid price good through 3/15?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't want to vote on it tonight. I want to think about it. Could you at the next meeting bring this back, also bring back what it would cost just to do this room? And then the other, break that down for me. And also I need to know a funding source. So I'd like to have that on there too. And I just want to think about it for 2 weeks before we're not in a rush, because if the bid's good, we can vote on it next meeting and we'd have time then. So that's what I would look for, just this room, the cost for the other ones, and a funding source.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Anything other, you're next on the docket too for follow-up.
Sorry,
Do you have anything else you're next up on?
I do not. No, I have nothing else.
Ms. Lundstedt, do you have anything else?
Nothing for the board, thank you.
Right. Committee reports. Ms. Peach, do you have anything tonight?
No, I do not. It was a relatively short human service zone meeting. We did not have quorum, and so some things were not voted on, but very short meeting. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Ricky.
I went through another 4-hour fair board meeting. Let me tell you, sea lions are coming to Grand Forks. Get ready for the excitement.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. A long way from the ocean. we've approved the entertainment budget. They're reviewing the rest of their budget. They are approved spending that $33,000 grant, which they got, and they're gonna match 33,000. And they're going to repair the brickwork on the west wall of the grandstand before the fair date, which is sometime in mid-June. So they're gonna be doing that, approved entertainment, and they're working on their budget. The only thing I had for the next meeting besides this High Point one is I would like a discussion on a formal written policy on adding items to the agenda. And I'll give you my idea, then everybody can put theirs towards Mr. Ford too, is I think it should require a unanimous vote to add. I also agree, I have no problem with signing county deeds and stuff like that. But I got multiple phone calls from people who would look for the agenda just for the casino, and it wasn't there, so they didn't come. So I do think we need to be careful about what we add. If we even have a sniff of the people are really interested in this, we need to let it go and not do it that night. So isn't a comment necessarily in the casino, but just in general, we have to be careful because people are looking at our agenda and they are planning to come or not come based upon what's on there. So if we could have a discussion of that, I do think we should come up with a formal written policy on adding to the agenda so we know and the public knows what's going on. That's all I have. Thank you.
My turn. Okay, had a construction meeting this morning. Had some cost changes. And I would need approval of the board to do it. All of these changes come out of owner contingency. First one is a door glass change, and prior there was some doors that were changed. And so therefore, because that change took place, we have to redo the glass or do the door glass changes at a cost of $1,970. This money again coming out of owner contingency. Let's see, the other one is Area E, framing and CMU changes. And the reason they're doing this is because if they wait and do it later, if there has to be some kind of a change down the road, it would be very costly to do that unless they do this type of work right now. And that is $22,771. That too would be coming out of owner contingency. And let's see here. And then there's the building numbering Bill brought up today. So the numbers on the building would have to go on. That's a cost of $740. That would leave us remaining balance in owner contingency of roughly $18,900, somewhere in there. However, the tinted glass that we approved before for $22,500, we're going to take that, and that's going to be coming out of the snow removal. Since we don't have any, we are leaving some money in there. So that will be added on to the owner contingency fund. So I would need a motion to approve those changes from the board.
Move changes.
Great. Motion, great. First and a second, all those in favor of the changes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Chair, who seconded the motion? Second, sorry.
That's, what else did I have? That's it. That was it, I guess. Yep.
Here at EDC meeting, they were kind of all in on pushing to make sure that the Grand Forks area receives that the funding from the state it's a forgivable loan for a Gristo, so they're, it's, I guess, all hands on deck there. And then also the committee to discuss potentially the sheriff's department and the jail, having a bit of a marriage. That's kind of informational really at this stage. Sheriff Johnner from Cass County, kind enough with his time to kind of give us some data. So we've all got a little bit of homework leading up to our next meeting, just to kind of see where we're at with things. That's all I've got. Thank you.
I have spent many hours on the phone, trying to come to an agreement or some sort of conclusion with the state. So that is why I called for the executive session. I think we're at a point where we need to just all get in a room and negotiate that what we want. Some follow-up. Also, we met with the Water Board and A&W LLC previously to this meeting, trying to come to a conclusion for what they're going to do for Drain 4. That's what else you have. I should have reminded you. I apologize. Bob was there too.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's all I had. Unfinished new business, under unfinished business, we needed to follow up with Bill and talk about the DAP card. He needs to get that ordered for the old, yeah.
Well, this thing keeps flipping back and forth. If they're still looking at the yak, then I guess, you know what, we should probably put that on the agenda to discuss at that session, because I don't know which way we're
Put
going.
it on the agenda for an executive session?
We're gonna be part of it because it's,
It will not be part of it. Oh, okay, okay,
but we need,
Okay.
but it's kind of be based on where we're going.
right.
We can't make a decision till we know where we're going.
I mean, can we wait until the next meeting, Bill, to make the decision?
Well, the next meeting is Thursday.
But no, I mean, like, what we talk about in the executive session is gonna determine if we're gonna order it down.
Yeah, so then we could have a meeting, unexecutive meeting right afterwards and decide.
Like before.
Yeah, no, I meant after.
But it can be either or,
Okay.
it's just not during.
Then that's fine. Yeah, let's talk about it after the meeting on Thursday. And that's all for unfinished, I believe, unless anybody else has anything. Then correspondence, the court facilities improvement grant award. That's just informational. So Mr. Hingham,
Move adjournment.
is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
I.
All right.
We are adjourned.